Hi, Dr. D.
Hi there, how are you today?
I'm good, good. Been in mourning. I changed my Facebook page to a black dot and my picture. I'm in mourning. Mm. All right, I'm not sure where everybody is. Did anybody say they weren't or they were having challenges for the night?
No, no. We were basically talking about our capability statements, just chatting over the past couple of days about those and reminding each other, mostly everybody reminded me to copy and paste and not reinvent the wheel. And so yeah, we've been talking about getting those done.
Jesus. Oh. If y'all could do that, that would really make my day. That would make my day. I think everybody is overthinking it. And I've said from day one, what's my famous saying? What
Stop working so hard. Just
I
Don't
don't
reinvent the
reinvent the wheel.
wheel.
don't reinvent the wheel. I'm trying to get y'all to look like everybody else, talk like everybody else. Um, so now you all can now get in the game. Mhm. Mhm. And again, that capability statement is like your resume. That capability statement it will always be active, mhm, based on your marketing. Mhm.
Can you mention
And
me?
what you're marketing. But initially, like you applying for a job, right? You send out a whole list of resume, a general resume. But once you get a hit, you customize your resume to that job. So to me, it's the same skill set. It's the same skill set of looking for a job. Hmm? Hear me now. I've never look for a job. I've always created my jobs. From 25 years old, once I got into this working system and understood these little 3% raises wasn't going to make me um, towards my goals. So in order for us, for me to grow and get pay increases, I had to move. Whereas my parents' generations, they stayed on that one job for 30 years. But for me, I went through 6 companies, and each time I went through those companies, I was getting a $10,000 raise. So for me, it's the same process. So what have y'all captured now that we're in the sixth section and getting ready to close out the first module? Have y'all been able to shift or what's been the most challenging for you and what's been the aha moment through this process? Anybody want to start?
I will.
Okay.
I think for me, the aha moment is you really kind of started with the end in mind and walked us step by step with what we could have gone down the foxhole doing a lot of research trying to figure out how the money was flowing, figure out where the contracts are, figure out where the opportunities were. And I'm, excited to say that we did all that like day one. You showed us exactly the flow of the money. You showed us exactly how to figure out where people were meeting their goals and where they weren't. You showed us exactly kind of like the databases, and then we just kept going a little deeper. So my aha was don't have to do a lot of research. You've already given us the step by step path.
Okay. Thank you. That was very good synopsis, Dr. D. And Dr. Crystal.
Yes, ma'am. Just been several aha moments with mindset shift. And I think along with those mindset shifts for me personally, has been, 19 years of working in a business as a single member LLC. And now Miss Paula gently guiding me and us towards, and I've worked with teams, obviously, but now having a team and seeing the business differently. And I think the aha moment came for me, more intensely when I did in one of our assignments, I think session 3 or 4, to shift the business from the LLC as a single member with the IRS to a S corp. And what that means, what that shift means, what the administrative, I hate to say burden, but work of that means. And like me saying, yep, Miss Paula said it's time to be a CEO. And so a little nervous, but then also excited that I could move away from, having to do everything in the business as a single member person and or hiring contractors, when needed, to now really, shifting towards building a team.
That's how you
I know
build
how
your
to do it,
business.
but yeah, that's been a shift for me.
And this is the whole purpose of this program is bringing people like our ancestors. The slaves knew if we could just read and write, we are at least somewhere ahead for our children's children. And so when I created GPI, that was my mindset as well. If my community can learn the language, learn the process, then this begins to create the sustainable generational wealth. But again, we've been trained to be laborers. We were brought over here to be laborers. Your education system. Okay, I'll use both of you doctors with your doctorate's degree. Did they talk about any business in the process of you getting any of your doctor's and master's degrees? Did y'all have that?
No, ma'am.
That
No.
doesn't make sense, does it?
Mhm.
Does that make sense to y'all?
No, and for all the money we've paid, I mean, I'm speaking for me, but Dr. D, I know you have a doctor, so also paid, I'm sure a considerable amount to get to this place, and really having to unlearn a lot of it, honestly.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Diana?
Hey everyone. I think for me, it was a lot of information at first. So I was kind of overwhelmed with the amount of information that was kind of coming at us. But I really had to kind of just like take a step back and just kind of decipher the information like step by step to really kind of just learn to navigate the website so that everything can kind of like click together. So now I feel like things are clicking together for me and I'm able to kind of know what codes I need to search for, know what to put into SAM, know how to look at the FBO website and just kind of understand the lay of the land. So now I do feel prepared. I just finished up my capability statement and everything. So I feel much more prepared to move to the next phase and start learning the contract language. Now that I know pretty much the foundational information.
Because I'm not going to have to go back and revisit it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have a model and nobody can tell whether it's one person behind it or 100 people are behind it. It's all the perception. We're going to fake it until we make it. All right. Valerie, and I'm going to catch you got the rest at the end of the class, because I really want to delve into this responding to RFQs. But Valerie, what has been your aha moment now that we're at the end of session 6, business ready?
Not to pigeonhole myself, to look like everybody else, even though it was hard for me not to get out of what I do.
And I think everybody was uncomfortable cutting and pasting because y'all think y'all plagiarizing. We've been trained. That's No, it's not in this space. And I promise you, nobody's gonna come back and say, "Ooh, you got that from my website." It's a service. But you tell your story around the same service that everybody is doing. And if you don't have it personally, that's where you bring in your other team members to fill in the holes. Because you have to build a team. You cannot grow your business by yourself. That's why I created this process. That's why in the second module, you all will be placed into teams and have team deliverables. And at that point, I'm the government, and I'm gonna treat you like the government. You all have to work it out. If you have nobody's meeting on the teams, that's not my issue. I'm the government. You have to make executive decisions as the CEO, and and do I keep going on? It's managing people. Because what you're learning here is real life. What you're learning here is real life. Now, most of y'all, again, the whole purpose of the the lab assignments and the deliverables is to keep you on point and focus, because that's how the government operates. It's all about deliverables. So we start using that language now. Every contract you're going to see is a deliverable. Again, in session 1, we talked about the goals, marketing to the government, understanding the agency, how I fit in those agencies and their missions. Second session, we covered your business model, your legal entity, the business model, not pigeonhole your business into one industry. And for those of you who have created a DBA, make sure you're looking for a domain name for that as you're identifying that new name. Third session, we're looking at industry codes. Most of you should have at least 25 to 30 NAICS codes. Last week, we went over others and their codes, mirror their codes. Obviously, they winning. And the reason I'm having you to mirror everyone, because as you enter in this space, they may not be able to access contracts based on your certifications and your industry code. They may be a large business or medium-sized business. What I'm doing in this module is dressing you up to go to the prom and speak the same language. And again, going back and looking at these two databases, using the same language and keywords of those that have been successful. Tonight's session, we're going to go over responding to RFQs. What is RFQs, someone? What type of buys are those? Anyone? No?
Are those the ones that's under 250K?
Those are 250,000 and below. Again, by now, most of you are still, and it's okay, because again, this is a process. Hopefully have completed a lot of these things and I've given you feedback. And some of you have to go back and revamp, but it's a process. But when we start government ready next week, generally I do a week between, but because of the holidays, we're not. We're going to keep it pushing and finish this module in December. But you still have, you can still carry over those deliverables into this module. Okay? So I don't want you all to be pressured. I want it to look right. I want it to be crisp. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so tonight what we're going to cover is responding to RFQs. In your classroom, I've provided you with links to one of our students who came in and used this template that I provided to everyone to win one of his first contracts. So I'm going to walk you through his process and his actual solicitation so you can see when you're looking at those types of buys. When you're looking at those types of buys, the RFQs, how you should be submitting it to the government. And to me, just like your CAPE statement, just like your website, it's who's telling the best story. And the story is the same. Who, you as the organization, your services, you as the owner, and then your subject matter experts that you're selling as part of this submission. So when I clicked on sam.gov, and this is USA spending, and then this is his proposal, and then this is a template. I've also provided you another template to be able to track items. This is the matrix when you are looking up items. So let's start with the young man's award. As you can see, he's located here in Georgia, and this was a 5-year contract. It's actually ending next year. This one, and sometimes those buys can go over the 250,000 threshold, but they have to include a specific clause in that opportunity. And we're going to cover those clauses next week. But his bid was $331,000. And you can see it was for landscaping. And you see the industry code that it falls under. And now you can go in and see how much he's been paid each year for landscaping. Each year he's getting a raise, so he's building that in that contract. So you can use this database when you are looking at these types of buys and do a research on what was the previous award amount, especially if it's a multiple year contract. Some of these RFQs are the hit and miss, run and done. I need three hotel space, set it up, and then you're done with this project. This was a 5-year project. And you can see it was located in Miami. He's in Georgia. He's in Union City, Georgia. The project's in Miami. This was his bid. His subcontractor's cost was $24,000. He put his costs in at this amount each year. So he's making this he's making how much off of that 65,000? Somebody do the math for me. Nobody talking, managing.
Like
Miss
40,
Paula?
41,000.
Yeah. Somebody was going to ask a question?
I just didn't see the 24,000 for the subcontract.
Huh?
You said he put 24,000 towards a subcontract?
The subcontractor's cost was 24,000.
Can you show us where you got that?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
See what?
This,
You're not
this,
gonna see it. He's the prime.
oh, okay, okay.
You're not
Okay.
gonna see his subcontractors' costs.
So are you just sharing something that you know, or like were we supposed to
This is what I
have
know.
okay, got it. We didn't know where you got that number from.
Yes. He told me after he won. And he told me his process of interviewing three based on the scope of work and weaning them out. So under here, it was 5 offers received and he won. And I'm going to show you why I believe he won. So you can see it was a small business, 5 people competed on it. The place of performance, that's wrong. It's reversed. The place of performance is in Miami. So now let's go and look at the actual opportunity when it was posted. This was the opportunity that was posted. Hold on. I need to minimize this. That was posted. And I'm going to take you to the actual solicitation. Now, sometimes SAM.gov will use a third party Unison marketplace to post bids. And on those, they're generally trying to drive the costs down. It becomes a bidding war, meaning you can go in and mess with whatever your original number was based on where you're falling in the bid. So all of it shows you the history. When I clicked on the history again, it goes and tells me when it was due, all it was landscaping. It's giving you a description. You can see it was issued as a RFQ. It's giving you some of the requirements that they're looking for, but it's going to actually send you to Unison to get the attachment. So when I click on Unison, it now is going to have all of the supporting documents for this solicitation. And again, on all solicitations, you get to ask questions. And you can see here where it says log in to start bidding. So you're actually doing a technical, but also watching your costs. And it's telling you what it's looking for, ground services. And when you see it listed as a base year, that means that's the first year of the contract. And these are the remaining years of the contract. So the government gives you an option or them an option to get out of the contract. So that's how the contracts are typically structured on a 5-year contract. It'll say a base year with 4 option years, meaning we have the option to renew or not renew that year. And then when you go down, it's going to give you information on the bidding requirements, the minimum bid. Go down a little further. It tells you the terms and conditions that they're looking for. Again, instruction is key. You also can submit questions, and they're telling you how to go about that. They're telling you how they're going to award it and how they're going to evaluate it. It's telling you if they're going to have a site visit. So he found his subcontractor in Miami, and he had his subcontractor to do the site visit under his company. And talking about all of it here then is the government's legal and covering themselves. And in here, it says they want you to complete this past performance and it says preferably with the government, but not necessary. And he wants them to have whoever is filling out that questionnaire to be sent to this young man. And down here is all the attachments. And again, these are the questions you get to answer, but I'm always going to look at the statement of work. So when you look at the statement of work, a lot of time, again, the government is not going to create every time they have an opportunity, they're going to use boilerplates and templates. So that's what I'm helping you all to create for whatever industry. So regardless, if it's landscaping that you're targeting, you should have a landscaping template. That's how you're able to crank this information out as quickly, because it's still the same process. And that's what you're trying to sell to the government, that you understand the task and you have the people and the processes in place to manage the task. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. How much time from from them putting out the solicitation to the deadline did he have?
Generally, it's a week or two, but it's based
Oh,
on the time of year, right? If
okay,
it's at the end of the year, they trying to turn this thing around quickly. And
okay.
I'll go to a live one here that's out, that just came out today, and it's due November 14th. So that's typical.
So how did he find the subcontractor? Did he just call people in Miami?
And you Google's
Oh,
your
okay, all
best
right,
friend, and you go through Yelp and you interview people
okay.
based on what they asking here. Right?
And ask their price and then you put your markup on it.
You put your markup on
Okay,
it.
cool. All right, I got you.
All you're gonna do is take the scope of work and shift it to whoever you're looking and ask them what their prices are. So what I realized and figured with this contract, it was multiple year contracts, because they got other areas even in this one. So they split up this contract and just had the landscaping just as the landscaping. And so again, when you're responding, you want to sort of kick back their words. And right here, and your introductory would be, let's say that GPI understands that the U.S. Custom and Border has a need to support their facilities. Um, GPI has extensive experience in working with federal agencies and agencies to support contracts of this magnitude, just some type of fluff. That's why I use Perplexity or GPI, OpenGPT to give me the right language. So they're telling you exactly what they're looking for. They're telling you what's attached, right? They're telling you what they are expecting from this up front. So the general requirements, they're going to talk about the players, who you're reporting to, and then they're going to go into the scope of work. So when you look at the scope of work, most of the time, again, it's going to be broken down just like this. So you want to make it really easy for whoever's evaluating it on the government side, that they know that you've answered the questions. You've responded to the tasks that are outlined in this proposal. Any questions? Are y'all still with me?
I have a question, Ms. Pollard.
Yes.
Hi, so can you switch mid-contract to a different subcontractor? Let's say like they back out or they don't want to do it. Is it possible to do so?
Yes, as long as you get the government approved.
Okay, so you need approval. Okay.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay.
So here, this is a typical landscaping, just like you would do in your house, right? When I hire my landscaper, he does all of this. So that's a typical landscaper. So you are going to be able to cut and copy this as part of your interview of these tasks to see whether or not they're qualified and send it out to three vendors. Um, and you right here where it says Site Pacific, um, they're telling you they want these molds bi-monthly, this treated quarterly. So again, you have to be able to respond to 4.0 and 5.0. Other stuff is really boilerplate stuff. It's the government. I don't really delve into a lot of this because it's still just the government covering themselves. But they're talking about here the supervisor. So when I look at 7.1 and 7.2, that's telling me a story. What is it telling someone? Hmm?
You are managing the project.
That's one aspect that is telling. What other aspect are they saying in there?
It's telling you
That they
that they have to have like a main supervisor that's overseeing maybe the other workers that are on the contract for the landscaping.
Yeah, that's one aspect of it, but more important, you can see how they're being racist in 7.2.
Yeah,
English
only English
speaking.
speaking.
English speaking.
And they're saying his employees, like, it could be a female managing it.
Yes. So, for one, what that's also telling me is that they've had problems communicating
Mm-hmm.
with whoever, whatever vendor that they've had. So, you won't still answer and address their concerns and issues. All right. So that's telling me, and sometimes they subtly will write in there their challenges. All right. Then they have accident reports. All of this is still boilerplate. Um, and then they telling you here, you gotta be, you still want to definitely read it, everything, but they're telling you what type of experience they're looking for right there. So now, again, I'm creating my job description and the experience of the individual or company that I'm going to hire, right? And then they want to know how you're going to manage that project. Most kind of agencies are going to ask for some type of quality control plan. So you got to tell them what type of systems you have in place to manage this particular contract. So he said with their you have to submit a detailed quality control plan with this information, right? So they want to see by this quality control plan that you have a general idea of how to manage a project like this. And then the other is just the boilerplate, who you'll be reporting to, and we'll go into more depth next when we get into government ready the players. So that's the end of the scope of work as it relates to this particular opportunity. Again, I always like to look at questions or ask questions, because sometimes when you ask the questions or you look at the questions, because the government have to respond, it gives me a general idea of how many people are really going to be looking at this opportunity. So when I look at the questions, and you can see anytime you are responding or asking a question, you need to reference it based on what section of that solicitation you're asking it for, right? So the government answered. So that's one question, right? This is from a second person who typically they're a little bit more experienced. I could tell just how they've organized the questions and for the government to respond to it easier.
Where are they putting those questions? Is that on the Unison website?
Yes, that's what yes, that's what was downloaded right here. That's the questions that you're asking. So the government can't take preference over another person. So everybody has the opportunity to ask questions. Once the government responds to this question, it'll be posted on that website. Okay?
Okay, so is there another section on this site that we submit the questions through?
Yes, it's going to tell you in
Okay.
instructions. And then this is the past performance document that they're saying that you have to complete. When you log into the system, there is a place for you to open and submit your questions, the templates. Okay?
Miss Paula, did you also say that there was a place on this site where you could see where people are bidding at, like so that you can be competitive?
Yes, that's once you start the bid and you put
Oh,
your,
okay.
all right, you see, log in to start bid.
Okay.
Okay? So for me right now, these are the two things that I'm focusing on. The instruction, the statement of work, and the past performance. Other things right now, I'm not going to really go in because it's still boilerplate. Service Contract Act. These are acts in the Fair Labor. You're going to see a lot of that, and sometimes it'll be referenced as wage indetermination. And what that means is that based on that area and based on that position, at a minimum, you're required to pay individuals that salary. You can't you can't pay someone below minimum wage. So they have specific wages attached to each position. And then they have other things. But for time purposes, I'm going to go ahead and because I want to go through what he submitted so you can see what the end product looks like. And then I'm going to spend time to go through a one I identified this evening. So we went through the statement of work, past performance. We've gone through what they're looking for. Now let's look at the response. Oh, first, let me go back to this template. This is the template he used from the class. And this is boilerplate. On anything that you're submitting to the government, you want to always include this information to protect yourself. And then it becomes a header. So you can see here how he's introduced, how this template that I've used in my previous business begins the introductory. So again, you always want to give them their language back. So if I was using a subcontractor, I use team member. Or if I wasn't, I'll just take that out. But this is pretty boilerplate. I'm also opening up and helping them to understand I understand their mission. and the tasks required to perform on this contract. So you have to begin to tell the story up front. So here is saying, for that reason, this is why we're using it. You're giving a brief background on who you are. You're giving a brief background on whatever subcontractor you're using and their experience and why we came together to go after this particular opportunity and begin to tell the story and leading them into what I'm going to share on why we are the best candidate for this solicitation. So it's really a book report. I'm talking about the experience, personnel, and facilities. And sometimes, again, the government will tell you, we want you to respond to this way. So it's you need to make sure that you always read the instructions. And then this is a template. This is what you're going to keep. Because every opportunity, the government is going to ask for this. This is your past performance. Although I may not have it with the government or the government or commercial, you can still use your personnel's experience, your contingency hire experience, even if it is just within commercial world. And always keep this up to date. I'm providing my past performance and the services I included, that I've performed on those particular tasks. And then I go into the team of why we are the best team for this project. So for me, I already identified the position and the team that I am now telling the government we have the expertise in, based on the statement of work and the number of years and who's and what's part of the team that I belong to or my subcontractor. So you can see the labor categories and who's working for who. And I did go over this. I know I went over this in office hours. Again, everybody should have a CEO resume. But your people that you're using, if it's for positions, you're going to have a project resume. That resume, what I used to do is have everybody that I brought in as consultants to use this template to complete and highlight the projects that you've worked on. All right, because again, your story has to tell the story without you being there. So what you see here, as I've said with that capability statement, you're going to talk about the projects that's related to that particular opportunity. And I talked about the CEO resume, which you all should have. This is what I'm looking for on your capability statement. It's all highlighting projects. And then in the back is where I'm outlining my education and employment. Because again, the government could care less about where I worked. They wanted to know what projects, what's my experience I have as it relates to that opportunity. Any questions, anyone? Any questions? Okay. Okay, so now let's look at his response.
Ms. Paul,
Yes.
okay, I have a question. Okay,
Yes.
when you say the CEO resume, you're talking about our personal, like our individual resumes, or
Correct. I posted, I went over that either in the office hour or class, I can't remember.
Okay.
The recording. So I went over the difference of the CEO resume. That's the resume that you're going to submit when you start applying into the SBA's programs, because that resume demonstrates your role as the CEO of that company. Whereas this resume that I was showing you this tonight is all around projects.
Okay. And that must have been in office hours. Did you do office hours today? Because I tried
I
logging
did
in.
not. I
Okay.
did not. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Hmm.
Go back and listen to the recording. How many
Okay.
of y'all by show of hand go back, go and listen to those recordings?
Yeah, I listened to all of them.
Mm, it's deprogramming y'all. So now this was his response. This is the company that won the contract, right? Using the template that we just provided. So he's outlined it. And I'm telling you, this is the only, I'm sure this was one of the reasons that he won, because nobody, a typical landscaping company is not going to provide you with something like this. And I'll show why I believe this as I go through this. So this is, again, he took it and customized it. Please do not go in and do a search and replace, because it looks like a search and replace to me. But I want you to see how he was able to turn in the language he used as his introductory. He gave them a little fluff, which is pretty good. Want to make sure that everything is maintained to guarantee a better and beautiful working. That's all fluff, but it sounds good, right? So you want to give them that touchy feeling in the beginning. Then he goes about his background. His background really is an IT company. But what you see here is that he's selling himself as project management. He's telling them we manage project and we manage with other team members. He sort of, it's a little gray line on how he's selling this, but what he's doing is saying through our partnerships, right? They are currently managing this landscape. And it's actually this company who's doing the work, really. Uh, um, he interviewed this company. This is a subcontractor who's located in Florida, and he talks about the subcontractor's experience. Everything that was in those tasks, he just grouped them into bullets, right? This is the experience based on the tasks that they were asking for in the statement of work. He's also highlighting the subcontractors' certifications as it relates to landscaping and how many is currently on their staff. And then he talks about, again, why they came together and how he's now going to lead them into the approach and how they're going to manage this contract. So in the first chapter or section, he talks about the technical approach. This came from the actual solicitation that I have in contract ready. So he kind of merged that template with this source of salt template to produce his response for the RFQ. So again, this first paragraph is all about fluff. He's not really saying anything. He customized it to him and the subcontractor, their experience. Um, Shopping center, malls. So all of this is the subcontractor's experience. His background, he's an IT person. Then he goes in to discuss what is going to be required from that contract. Again, he cut and paste from my template. So based on the scope of work, he's determined that they will need at least 4 landscapers to perform the work after his subcontractor did the the site visit. And he talks about, we know we're gonna kick it off with the core. And then this is the management plan. Again, he took this from my template. I'm gonna keep repeating that. Because once you have a management plan, which is in essence the same as the quality control plan, it's going to be the same plan for each project. You're just going to customize it to it. There may be a little nuances, some nuances, but for the most part, management plan is a management plan. He talks about the team and how it's going to run. He still had to go in and customize it. So he, as the owner of Vision, is the program manager, and he's telling the government on how he's going to work with his subcontractor supervisor to make sure that the deliverables are being met. And he talks about the plan. And I'm telling you, this is still from the template. Right here, that's where those tasks came into play, right? He's showing them, we're taking those tasks based on what you're telling them, the time that it has to be completed. So this will be part of our checklist to make sure those tasks are complete. And if not, how we're going to correct it. Okay, so it's talking about each of those sections and how much. So you see how the statement of work is tied back to his response, everyone? Yes?
Yes.
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 Okay. So now he's still giving them some fluff, how they're gonna manage this. Why he chose the subcontractor. And I'm telling you, they did not read this proposal. He outlines, and when you're looking at any project and looking at these opportunities, you need to think about it yourself. What positions do I need? How much time is it going to complete that task? So now you have some structure as it relates to that opportunity. So the reason I know they just gave this to them because the presentation looks good. So if you look at the position and their roles, what does number 2, this reads, landscape technicians. That doesn't seem off to anybody? Huh?
So are the landscape technicians the people who cut the grass?
Yes.
Okay.
He
Well,
took
they're
my
saying they
boilerplate and
oversee.
he talking about what was in my template.
Yeah.
About meetings. That was a meeting.
Yes.
So, and the government didn't even pick that up.
Uh-huh.
That's why I'm saying it was a presentation that helped him to win this contract.
Mm-hmm.
Then he talks about the time, how much time is going to be dedicated, right? He is the point of contact. He's the project manager. And then this is these other individuals. So let's look at the past performance. This was the template that they provided. His subcontractor is the one who had their clients to complete this past performance. This was not under his company. And that's what was turned into the government. And you can see none of it as well was really on any government property. Any questions? And does this make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Miss Paula, can you back up just a second? So the survey, the questionnaire of past performance is completed by whom?
It's the subcontractors' clients. So
Okay, so
I
people
have
that they've done contracts for before that had
correct.
nothing to do with any government property. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Y'all clear with that?
So do they ask for contact information like references, or is it really just rating? I didn't see.
Yeah.
Okay, I do see contact. Well, no, I don't. I see the person completing it, but I don't see contact number. Like if you wanted to go back, if the government wanted to go back and speak with them, I don't even
They-
see that level of possibility. Oh, okay. There we go. Thank you. But they didn't fill it out. So
it says on subcontractors. It says not applicable. You see? That was for this particular contract. This was completed by turf management's clients. That wasn't it was a commercial job. That's why it wasn't applicable. And they did, if they wanted the phone number, they would have reached back out and requested. But he won. So you understand how we're shaping the story?
yes.
Okay. What I've also included in your classroom is this sheet to keep everything organized and your team. So when you are, hold on, when you are looking, when you're beginning to submit bids, you want to be able to build a lead sheet because again, every opportunity is going to have a point of contact. They're going to have a phone number, email address. So this is how you begin to date and build relationships and keep it housed in one place. So for every opportunities that you're looking for, you can use this sheet to track it, to see where you are. Thank you, Miss Paula. This is going to be very helpful as we start winning contracts. Y'all gonna make me start talking to myself.
It sure is. Oh my gosh.
So it talks about the agency, the number. If you submitted questions, when is it due?
Mhm.
Put the actual solicitation in here. So as you're keeping them or bidding or monitoring, it's all in one place. You can just click,
Mhm.
go to it.
Yeah.
All right, so how do we screen people? So if I'm looking at that landscaping contract in Miami, my first thing is the Google. Google is a beautiful thing. Yeah. Do interview. You do the reference check. I'm also going to make sure that they're not registered in sam.gov. Because if they're registered in sam.gov, then I'm competing against them. So I want to make sure I'm not calling somebody or giving them a heads up that this contract is out. So this is a little sheet that you also can use to track the questions you submit for any of your bids that you're looking for and the government's response. Here is the vendors checklist. This is what you're gonna be using.
You
Step
giving us
by
this
step.
too?
Huh?
You giving us this one too?
Yes, it's all one file.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. So now you're creating a lead sheet and you're gonna follow up. It's a numbers game at this point. Any questions on how we began to look at RFQs? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Miss Paula, is the expectation for us to start submitting now?
Hmm. I would like you to.
Okay.
If you got a cage code and UEI number, because I want you to get comfortable with submitting. Everybody stops because they want everything to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. And you're really good if you win on your first bid. So you're not going to win. I want you to get comfortable with the submission process. Okay?
Got it. Thank you.
And building up the relationship, just as it is in any business. Once I submit it, I'm going to follow back up. Hey, have you determined who the buyer is? Oh, by the way, here's my capability statement in case something else comes down the pipe. Because the government also have buys that are 25,000 and below. They are called micro purchases. You can ask them, can you direct me to the agencies that manages those buys that are 25,000 and below? Because those buys will never ever be on FBO or SAM.gov. Now there's two ways that I look at RFQs. If I'm just trying to do a quick search, I can go in and do a search this way, but I don't like using the search component because if the agencies do not put RFQ in the solicitation, you may miss it. It may not come up. Sometimes um, they'll reference it as uh, simplified acquisition procedures. Here are opportunities. You're going to see parts, RFQ for managing a dog kennel, laundry services. So this just gives you a snapshot of RFQs. I, again, personally like to go shopping every day. I go and look on FBO Daily and say, what is the government buying? So to go back, I'm always looking at each industry and who do I know. And again, the reason I'm having you all structure your capability, your business model, because it's modeling what the government is offering. So I like to look in section R. And again, until this budget's passed, I don't know what this is going to look like. But go ahead and get your feet wet while it's slow. I look in education and training. Those are typically those types of buys. Those are 1 or 2 day training or week training. Transportation. They're looking for event planning. Here, janitorial contracts, landscaping, always going to be here. You already have a landscaping template, hello, that you can use. This is paint jobs, vendors. So I look at all of the categories every day. what I did find was this opportunity. This was a RFQ, right? All they need is conference space, catering, and lodging. It's due November 19th. It's a small business set aside. So typically, you probably wouldn't have even looked in there, would you? Or even think
No.
it would be for you because you're thinking it's for a hotel, right?
Yes.
They're saying small business set aside. This is for the National Guard. Its place of performance is in Ohio. And again, I always go back to sam.gov for the original document. And here are all of the attachments, all right? Total small business, it's going to be a firm fixed price. And we'll go over that in more depth in the next module. They want your quote is due by 4 p.m. Want your cage code, point of contact, and now they're providing the documents. So I went ahead and downloaded a lot of the documents that they were looking for. I started with the instructions to the audience, and then they had these other documents. So when I look at the instructions, the first document, they're telling you what they're looking for, right? Must be registered and how they're going to evaluate you on these three factors, right? They need two, but this is, again, the system that when you complete a contract, the government grades you in this system. But that should not be a deterrent if you're not in that system. Looking at recent definition within the last two. So I'm still screening this. So my question would be, are they looking at the hotel's level of experience or the company? Right? But I'm gonna read it a little further. They're looking at the price, and you get to negotiate. That's what they call BAFO, best and final offer. When you get that call and they want to talk about something in your solicitation, you've made the cut. The second part of this was the catering performance work statement. So uh, let's go up to the top. You see that they're even using boilerplate. Do you all see that?
Yes.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. They go down, name of the person, so they want to contact, right?
Mhm.
Reserved, that should have been not applicable, right? They putting in government language, access, somebody just shoot. So I would go through this thoroughly, and if I have any question, does this reserve mean not applicable? Because it's a 3-day. I don't know what reserve means. So
Mhm.
that's one of my questions. I want a person with the, so enter and terminate the contract. So you have to be responsible for that hotel contract. This is who you're going to be working with. And we go back to that key personnel, right? Best value. So they they copied this from another contract. That doesn't even make sense to me. They don't need a quality insurance plan for the scope of work. So those will be some of the questions I would be pushing back on. And do you need a quality assurance plan for a 2-day meeting or 3-day meeting? So let's look at the actual scope of work, right? 130 adults, buffet. So this is what you're giving to the hotels that you are negotiating with. This right here doesn't make sense. Boilerplate. So you're going to build your time in as the project manager with the hotel. That's how you're covering your costs. Am I making sense to you guys? The rest of this is still boilerplate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at, they got the lodging. I don't know why they did it this way too. Plus the lodging. They broke it down into 3 different, somebody, it's new people. I can tell that by the way they're doing this. Generally, it's a separate, I mean, it's all combined into one. So the government, they want you to have a 15 room block, and it cannot exceed the per diem rate. Meaning when you're on travel with the government, they have maximum amount that you could bill for your meals and your lodging. You're not covering it. The government, guess, will check with personal. The lodging is incidental. So these are things that you got to make sure when you're looking at that contract with the hotel that you are covering your costs. So they're saying 75% of the rooms will have 2 guests. So you're talking about 30 people for the most part, or what, 25 people. They need a parking lot. I mean, parking spaces, all right? 20 vehicles, they want no cost. So again, you're negotiating on the government's behalf for the catering and the lodging. Now, what else do they have in here? We covered that. Let me go back to the document. Y'all have any questions? And then they give you a worksheet to put your numbers in. So we went over the structure, the venue, all of that is what you're going to be providing to the hotel. This is the overall solicitation. And then they provided you with a worksheet. So you have to, this is again what you are submitting to the government. You can see they attached it to the performance work statement, right? How much is the cost? And for each component, so they broke it down by each component. Each component consists of 3 sections. So when you're billing the government, you're billing the government for the hotel space using this number. You're billing them for the meals using clan number 2. And then for the parking, They want the total price. So you have to include your you have to include your cost, I would say, on top of CLIN number 0001. CLIN stands for contract line item number. Because again, you have to cover your costs. I will also go back and ask the question, is travel permitted? If I'm not located there, because either I can work it long distance or they can pay for my cost but for something that small, you really may not need to travel. But you've got to look at what will be your time and cost that you're going to be doing now, because you're going to build that time back into this cost. You doing the research and finding that hotel, you're going to factor in this cost. And then the time to the day of the event, how many days was it? So you need to be checking in every day or with the hotel. So you're the go-between person. Any questions? Okay. Is it too late? Everybody depressed? Is that what's going on?
Miss Paula, I have a question.
Mhm.
So for like the sources salt contracts, we can send like our information over so that that can be included in like their data collection.
That's something that we're going into government ready. That's what will be one of your team deliverables. That's the government doing a market research to determine which program or how they want to do the acquisition strategy.
Okay, so we're gonna have a session on how to respond if we would like to submit.
That government ready the next month.
Okay. Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right. Nicole, what was your takeaway? Nicole went away. Miss Haywood, what was your takeaway?
This one was just a little bit overwhelming for me, so I definitely got to go back and listen to it again. But I did have a question. You said that people can start bidding or submitting bids if they like. And of course, I don't even feel comfortable doing that. But my thing is it like, would we be like, how do we stay out of trouble, I guess, is the question I have.
What do you mean? What kind of trouble you think you're gonna get in?
I don't know. I hear about people going to prison and stuff behind this stuff. I just don't want to be a part of none of that.
I'm saying, Keisha, I do.
Yeah.
You read the terms, you know what's right and wrong. I'll give you an example. One of my students this year won a $4.3 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
He found the subcontractor found him and knew he was green. She wrote the proposal. They won the contract in January. She wrote up the legal agreement, prime subcontractor, and had the contract set up where they were splitting the profits 50-50. He called me because he was getting a little greedy. He wanted to get more of the profit and didn't know how to handle it. And I said to him that you're acting as a pass-through, and the government have the right to come back and recoup this money that you've gotten. You didn't even read your contract.
Mm-hmm.
He never read his contract.
Mm.
So now you're submitting invoices that are fraudulent. So that's opening up a whole nother can of worms.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. Did I lose people? I lost one. Uh, um, give me two takeaways. Somebody.
I'll go. I think this was very informative, as it always is. I think there's a level of understanding and really or understanding what you're doing as you're doing it, as you're clicking through things and you're showing us, what the requirements are and how to follow the rules to respond. I think that is easy to follow. Where I get concerned for myself is I want to be able to speak it, know it, and know what I'm doing. And that's where, I don't know, for me, I probably need to just print one and go through and actually go through the process of responding or something. But to watch it, yes, that makes perfect sense. Every click, everything you explain is very, very easy to follow. It's just being able to
Applying.
describe what I'm doing and know
Mhm.
what I'm doing and why. That's where I get a little concerned for myself.
It's every opportunity is going to have instructions. They're going to be very clear on their instructions and how you're going to be evaluated. And again, we'll go into more depth in that second module on what that really looks like. But it's a process, as I said in the beginning, and everything that we're teaching you is applicable. I mean, I need for you to apply it. That's the only way that you're going to learn. That's how the lab assignments were set up. You all have learned a whole lot in these 6 weeks. Would you agree?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Definitely.
Mr. Kevin, you get to you close it out for me. What was your takeaway for the evening?
This one I feel like was, I know I say all of them are a lot, but this one felt like a lot, and just that like I feel like I think it was almost I forgot who said it, but there's the concept of understanding of seeing someone go through and talking it, but then when you're actually doing it, I feel like the whole practice part of it is where I get a little bit nervous, but I think what makes me feel better is I feel like this is a recurring theme through like the entire thing is that you really don't have to reinvent the wheel. Everything is already out there, it's already been done. You just need to kind of know where and what resources to lean on. And so I think that's gonna like that was kind of like one of my parts that I'm most nervous about. Like even when I see all of these things, I'm nervous, like, oh, there's these things that like I don't really fully understand or any of that. But I think like my core takeaway is that there are so many like what the resources are that I can lean on. Um, and take from to kind of make it easier. And, when I get into it, even if I don't fully understand it, at least, I can play that I understand it almost.
AI, you're using AI to answer any of those questions. They'll shape it up and make it make it sound nice. Mhm. Yeah, it's a process. But the good thing is on the government side, if you lose, you can request a debriefing and they'll tell you why you lost. So people get fearful of the person on the other side. And they're just like me. And it's building that relationship. If they see that you're working and trying to make their life easier, then they're gonna work with you. But you gotta prove yourself with them, just like any other relationship. All right, everyone. Um, did you all get the constant contact today? In 2 weeks, on the 22nd, I have Miss Vicki Evans. She was in my inaugural class, my very first class, and she has won almost 200 million in contracts. She have purchased a lot of real estate, and she just bought her building. On November 20th, Malik Yoba will do a lunch and learn with us because I
Awesome.
want him to share his journey since he got engaged in this process 2 years ago. All right?
Cool.
All right. Well, y'all have a good week and keep it pushing next week. We're going into government ready. So congratulations. Y'all studied ready. I didn't lose too many folks there.
Thank you, Miss Paula.
Thank you.
Miss Paula, I wanted to tell you, I remind you that I'm not there next week, but the week after next. I will be thinking of everyone in the Caribbean, and I will take note of my homework.
As you on the beach, huh?
Yes.
We're not mad at you. All right. Y'all have a good
Thank
one.
you. Thank you.